Hello all, my name is Dan, your favorite weeb wizard, and this is my guide for Magic players on how to play Legends of Runeterra. If you were like me as a Magic player, you may have gotten tired of how expensive the game can be, especially on Arena, where many have drifted to over the course of last year because paper Magic was mostly unplayable. Thanks COVID. After just general frustrations with WotC and the game and seeing how much I was spending, I decided to attempt playing an alternative I tried a while ago back in beta, and honestly I'm having way more fun with it. It's ridiculously more affordable, and its competitive scene is really starting to shape up, if you're into that. As an avid card game player, LoR is very interesting with the core mechanics of the game, and allows for some mind games not possible in Magic or Hearthstone or any of its competitors. For example, there are 3 open mana gems you receive at the start of the game, used to store mana between rounds if you don't spend it. This mana can only be used on spells on later turns, and is commonly referred to as spell mana. You also gain 1 mana gem every round, similar to Hearthstone, and is capped at 10. Basically, you make a land drop automatically every round up to round 10. That being said, the most you can play on a unit is 10 mana. And you can spend that 10 mana and 3 stored spell mana on a single spell later in the game. You can have a total of 6 units or landmarks in play on the back row of your board at any time. Anything that's currently attacking or in combat is considered to be in the front row. If an effect would cause you to summon extra permanents, they instead get obliterated. You can, however, have things summoned to the front row attacking, such as Hecarim Spectral Riders, in a total of 6 and have more things in the back row. If you would like to replace something in the back row with another unit in your hand, you can choose one of the things in your back row to obliterate to make room for the new card. The game begins with each player starting with 4 cards in hand, and may choose to mulligan any number of them. The maximum hand size is also 10, and if you would exceed 10 cards, similar to Hearthstone, the excess cards will burn. Each player starts at 20 life. This total cannot exceed 20 by any means, so do take that into account when you go to healing picks for 5 when you're only at 18. It plays in a round-based system rather than alternate turns, giving an attack token to one player at random at the start of the game. Alternating between rounds, the player with the token gets priority first and can attack with their units that round. When you have priority, you can play a card as long as you have the mana for it. Then priority gets passed to the other player, and they can play a card. You can also choose to not play a card and pass. When both players pass consecutively, say you pass on a turn, and then it goes to your opponent, and then they also pass, the round ends, mana is restored, the attack token is given to the other player, and each draw a card, beginning the next round, where you do it again. Your deck must contain exactly 40 cards, and you can't have more than 3 copies of any one card. These can be followers, spells, landmarks, or champions. There is also a secondary limit of 6 total champions in your deck, which can be split between 2 regions. Most of the time, you'll be picking champions to build around and synergize with. Champion cards are arguably the most important card type in the game, based around characters from League of Legends. Each of them have unique abilities and a signature spell. If you have a copy of a champion in play, any additional copies you have in hand turn into their signature spell. And you can't play a second copy of the unit itself until the first one leaves and reverts back to its unit side in your hand. You can, however, acquire multiples of them via other means, such as resurrection or putting them into play from your deck. Each champion has a stipulation attached to them, and meeting that stipulation will cause that champion to level up, becoming stronger, and having different effects. You'll know when it happens when the special animation plays.
Make these pieces whole.
When a champion is leveled up in the game, all other subsequent copies will acquire the new stats. You don't have to level them up again. It's just permanent for the rest of the game. Note, in order to level up a champion, it must be in play. However, if there's a stipulation that doesn't require them to see you do something, you can meet that stipulation first, they will just immediately level up as soon as you play them. If I were going to compare these to a Magic card, I would probably compare them with the Flip Walkers from Magic Origins. How they typically are put into play, you meet a certain condition, and then they gain their spark and transform to their Planeswalker. It's basically that. They have a variety of effects and keywords, as many champions do as well, which I'll go over in a moment. Followers are the non-legendary creatures of LoR, and the main way of providing a presence on the board. One big difference between Magic and LoR, damage doesn't fall off between rounds on units and champions normally. There are ways to heal them in certain cards. Also, Summoning Sickness and Tapping are not a thing in the game. Essentially, each creature has Vigilance and Haste by default. The keywords are as follows. Quick Attack. This creature has First Strike when attacking. Double Attack has Double Strike when attacking. Overwhelm. Effectively Trample. Kid tested, Timmy approved. Lifelink is equivalent to Lifesteal. Elusive is effectively Flying. Can't be blocked except by other creatures with Elusive. Tough. When this receives damage, prevent one of that damage. Last Breath. When this creature dies, do X. Strike. Strike refers to when a unit hits something, whether it is in combat or with a particular fight spell that says strike on it. Nexus Strike specifically means dealing combat damage to an opponent. Fury. When this unit kills a unit and survives, grant it +1/+1. Barrier. The next time this unit receives damage this round, prevent it. Spell Shield. When this is affected by an opponent's spell, ignore it, then this loses Spell Shield. Note that it doesn't actually counter the spell, so if there's something that affects one of their units and one of your units, your unit will ignore that effect, but the rest of it will still play out. Scout. The first time only units with Scout attack this turn get an additional combat phase after this one. Challenger. When I attack, I choose a unit that must block me. Vulnerable. Any unit with Vulnerable can be designated to block by the attacker's choice. Augment. When I see a created card played by you, grant me +1 attack. Fearsome. Can't be blocked by creatures with 2 or less power. Ephemeral. This creature dies when it strikes or at the end of the round. Attune. When I'm summoned, gain 1 spell mana. Regeneration. When this round ends, I heal to full HP. Stun. Can't attack or block this round. Frostbite. Give a creature -X/-0, where X is its current power. Immobile. Can't attack or block. Plunder. Do X if your opponent has lost life this turn. Nab. Draw a card from your opponent's deck. Yes, this counts as drawing a card. Daybreak. If this is the first card you play this round, do X. Nightfall. If this isn't the first card you play this turn, do X. Recall. Return something to its owner's hand. Rally. Gain the ability to attack this round if you don't already have it. This can be used multiple times a round for additional combat steps. If you have the attack token, you can't rally and then attack twice in a row. Instead, you would need to attack, then rally, then attack again, and so on. Support. When attacking, give the unit to my right X. Drain. Deal X damage, gain X life. Silence. Remove any buffs and keywords from a target unit. Capture. Exile something until the capturing unit leaves the battle. Note, if it gets silenced while capturing something, you won't get that back when it leaves. Toss X. Exile X random non-champion cards from your deck. This is generally paired with Deep, if you have less than 15 cards in your deck. This grants buffs to certain cards, or in some cases triggers something. Usually it gives a unit with this keyword +3/+3. Note, once you become Deep, you cannot lose the Deep effect if you have cards added to your deck later. Invoke. Choose one of 3 Celestial cards within restrictions, if any, to add to your hand. Celestial cards aren't available regularly for deck building, and tend to be stronger than regular cards. Behold. Applies if you have a unit in play or a card in your hand that meets a set stipulation. For example, Supernova cannot be played unless you have another Celestial unit in play or another Celestial card in your hand, as it requires you to behold a Celestial. Note, you can't cast Supernova unless you behold a separate card before putting it on the stack. Reforge. Add one of 3 blade fragments to your hand that hasn't been made yet. One gives quick attack, one gives overwhelm, and one gives +2 attack. All are 1 mana focus speed spells. Once one of each fragment is played, you add a special spell to your hand that is a slow speed and does the effect of all 3 permanently instead of for the 1 round. Predict. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Shuffle your deck and put up to one of those 3 cards on top. Countdown X. This comes in with X time counters on it. At the beginning of a new round, remove a time counter from it. Then, if it has no counters left, do Y. Then sacrifice it. Advance. Remove X time counters from the mentioned permanent. Reputation. If your allies strike for 5+ damage 4 or more times this game, you gain Reputation. When you have Reputation, some cards gain benefits, such as cost reduction or additional effects. Obliterate is equivalent to exile, kill is equivalent to destroy, and that's pretty much every keyword in the game so far. Hooray, we did it! God, there's so many. Landmarks are effectively artifacts for Legends of Runeterra. They can't be paid for with spell mana and take a spot on your board. They also tend to contribute some sort of advantage later on in the game, or do something when something happens, or typically have the countdown keyword. Spells are your instants and sorceries for Legends of Runeterra. They come at 4 different speeds, which I'll do my best to explain. Slow speed is effectively sorcery speed. Can't be cast in combat or in response to anything on the stack. Fast speed is effectively instant speed. You can place 1 or more on the stack in any order once you've received priority. Then, your opponent can play a fast speed spell onto the stack, you can place another, and so on, until a player passes without playing a card. The stack will then resolve from left to right with no breaks in between, and priority will be given to the player that didn't begin the stack. Burst speed is similar to fast speed, but doesn't use the stack. Once played, the spell resolves immediately and allows you to retain priority for something else. You can play a burst speed spell and follow it up with a unit or a slow speed spell in this way. Oh, and you can also attack right after too. Focus speed is effectively burst speed, but can't be played mid-combat or in response to anything on the stack. Being able to manage the different speeds effectively is pretty key to Legends of Runeterra. For example, many combat tricks are burst speed, either offensive or defensive, allowing someone to stack a bunch of things and swing immediately at an opponent. You can also hold them until blocks are declared, trying to get better trades, be more efficient, have your combat tricks go that way. But you can also have the inherent risk of sending all that stuff in, holding all those combat tricks that can potentially push lethal damage, and then just press OK without blocking. Combat resolves, you deal your damage, and then it just goes from there. So, use these tricks for your advantage. This is effectively the core of the game as of now, so I'll go over the current regions and their identifying features. Demacia is well known for challenger units, elites, barrier and tough keywords, anthem type effects, and rallies. And fight spells are typically its main removal. Noxus is the more aggressive conquering region, focused on trampling over the weak, breaking stuff, damage-based removal, stuns, and aggressive combat tricks. Bilgewater is also aggressive, but mostly with rowdy pirates and creatures of the blue seas, slippery elusives, pings for plunder, and 8-punch pop. Freljord is for those that like the cold. Lots of frostbite effects, big stompy units with survivability, ramp, and buffing stuff in your deck. Piltover and Zon is innovation and progress in card. Interesting mechanics, discarding stuff, randomness, and damage-based removal. Ionia is lots of control and payoffs for playing spells, recalling things and some barriers and stuns along with counter magic. Shadow Isles is a lot of sacrifice synergies, sacrificing your own stuff for gains, drain effects, hard removal, and reanimation. Targon is mostly about gems, invoking, daybreak, nightfall, and defense. What more could you want? Shurima has a theme for landmarks, units summoned attacking for free, vulnerable, predicting top decks, and level 3 champions. Honestly, this is the newest region that just came out a month ago, so it's not super identified yet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Exactly how much does this game cost to play? And the answer I have right now, this is my personal collection. I own about 75 to 80% of the available cards in the game right now, and I have spent maybe $30, $50 on non-cosmetic items. The rest was simply just playing the game. Legends of Runeterra has probably the best monetization system out of any digital card game I've ever played. And trust me, I've played several. They have a wildcard system similar to Arena. Each wildcard of a certain rarity will give you any one card that you want of that rarity. They also have a dust system in shards, which you can use to buy cards that you want, which is super handy. Here's the best part. There's no card packs. You don't have to crack a single pack in a collectible card game. It's mind-blowing, I know. How do you get cards with no packs? Well, there's two big ways, both impacted by getting XP from playing the game. But what does XP get you? Well, the first one is region rewards. Remember when I talked about the different regions in the game? Each one of those gets like a separate track that grants rewards for hitting XP markers tailored to cards of that region. You can change which one you want to put your XP into, basically anytime. Doesn't like reset their counters or anything, you just kind of jump in between. These give you wild cards, bunch of chests with random stuff in it, and so on. The other big payoff for XP is the weekly vault. Every Thursday, you get to pop 3 chests open with stuff in it for free. These chests and rewards get upgraded based on how much XP you've got in them for that week time frame, from bronze to diamond for each chest. This holds a ton of goodies for you if you get to manage to play at least a little bit every day. You don't even have to do nothing but grind the game to get the highest tiers for weekly rewards. Just do your dailies and try to play a little bit every day, and you've pretty much golden. Most players that have been playing for a decent amount of time have every card and actually want more to grind for, from what I can see. Hell, some even brag about the extra shards they have just sitting there for no reason. It may take a while, but at least you won't be grinding for currency to buy packs and maybe pull something good. There's less of a loot box problem with it. It's pretty easy to get exactly what you want, since the wild cards and shards just make it be like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And even the region track rewards, you get to choose basically what you're getting a lot of the time. Just allocate your resources to what exactly you're trying to fill out. All in all, I think LoR is at a good place right now, and it's got a lot of potential. It's way cheaper than the other card games out there, and it's some fresh mechanics that will make the game a little bit more interesting. I would recommend giving it a try, even if you don't end up staying, especially if you're a Magic player. With that, I hope you all have a very pleasant day, and if you give Legends of Runeterra a try, I hope you find it enjoyable and affordable. My name's Dan, your favorite weeb wizard, and I'll see you